Well, everyone, the iPhone 7 is one of those phones that the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more interesting it gets, because it's at a very strange point in its life where it's worth it but not worth it, and it's kind of a good phone but it's also a strange phone. I would never say the iPhone 7 is a bad phone or a horrible phone, but the layout and just the release of the iPhone 7 was never that positive. I mean, the lack of headphone jack, that in and of itself kind of killed the iPhone 7 in a lot of different ways. But a massive advantage of something like an iPhone 7 right now is the lower price tag. This phone doesn't cost us $700 or whatever when it first came out. These things you can pick up for less than $100 in a lot of different places, and this is a very solid phone for just the capability and everything, Apple ecosystem. However, we're coming to a point where the iPhone 7 is going to be getting into kind of like the same area where the iPhone 6s is right now, where the iPhone 7 may actually be the lowest supported iPhone. It's going to be the iPhone that is the lowest one on the iOS scale. Now, why is this important? Well, typically what Apple does is after a certain amount of time, they'll stop supporting older iPhones. They'll probably end up giving the iPhone 6s security updates, but the 6s is going to be more so like an iPhone 5s right now, where the iPhone 7 may actually end up being more like an iPhone 10 if it, gets an extra year of software updates. Who knows? Now, with that being said, if you have an iPhone 7 right now, that's perfectly fine. But just know that within the next year, you're going to be getting to a point where it's going to be on its last leg. That's why it's really hard for me to keep, recommending the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 7 Plus to people, mostly because of the software longevity. I don't want to recommend a phone to people who, it's just going to be outdated in a year or two, probably more so in a year. And that's kind of a big disadvantage, If you're planning on buying an iPhone 7, just know that probably within the next year, probably a year and a half, your phone is going to be outdated. And that's a very sad thing to think about. You don't want to buy a phone and automatically have it outdated or not functioning properly or, lack features that newer phones have. You're already kind of there with an iPhone 7, and I'm pretty sure you want to basically be in that same ballpark as something like an iPhone 10s, iPhone 11. With that being said, that's why I think the iPhone 7 right now, like this day, probably for the month of May, it's going to be kind of worth it here and there. But after within WWDC next month, and once we get the iOS 15 device list, we're going to be at a point where the iPhone 7, may actually be the lowest supported iPhone on iOS 15. And if that's the case, then it's going to be a very hard sell to buy an iPhone 7. And I feel like iPhone 7 sales are going to go down, or more people may actually end up buying them because of an iPod, maybe buy them as an iPod, have them as a secondary device. And that's why there's so many moving pieces here, because the iPod Touch, the only iPod that Apple sells, has the same chipset as the iPhone 7. Essentially, the iPhone 7 and iPod Touch 7th generation are pretty much almost the same thing. They're almost the same phone. They have the same things going on inside of them. And that's why it's a very interesting thing going on here. Just because the phone is not going to probably be getting some more software updates. There's a lot of devices that have that A10 Fusion chip, so there's no way Apple is going to stop supporting, the iPhone 7. You have the iPads that had the A10 Fusion. I think an Apple TV had an A10 Fusion, and then the iPods have A10 Fusion too. So there's no way Apple's going to, stop supporting that device. So I guess we'll see what happens in the future, but I think the iPhone 7 is one of the more interesting phones in 2021 for sure. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.